it's Guido coming at you with a tactics talk and a tank review of the new T77 American Heavy Autoloading Premium Tank. Oh yeah, it's another autoloader, my friends, and it is tied to the last Waffentrager event. You will have a way to win that when the CCs play the golden Waffentragers and some special footlockers get thrown out, or you can buy the special footlockers and roll the dice on getting one. I don't have any essay on when it will be sold later on, but every tank like this that's come out has eventually been actually sold. So hang on to your hats. But here's a review of the T77. We'll do the standard act overview, tech tree considerations, 3D model. Look at a comparison amongst its peers. My stats after 10 battles, my setup, and then 3 games, examples of gameplay for the T77. So let's get started on the American T77 with an overview. You can see that it looks a lot like maybe a T57 or a T54E1. It's got the oscillating turret right there. 4 crew members, standard armor loadout for or layout for like a T57 or T54E1 looking kind of thing. It is a heavy tank, like I said, and if we go over here to the details, it is a project developed in the mid-50s, like many of the tanks in this game, especially the higher tier ones, based on mass-produced M48 with elements of the T54. A few turrets were built due to the constant changes in requirements. The project was discontinued. So another kind of paper slash half-developed slash idea tank gets into the game. This particular camo happens to be one of the last Waffentrager camos right there, the electrical charge one, I think it's called, something like that. So let's take a look now at tech tree considerations for the T77 American Heavy Premium Tank. Autoloading. All right, quickly on the tech tree considerations, realize it's a premium, so you don't have any modules to unlock. There are 2 heavy lines, or at least it gets to heavies at the last 2 on this line here, but the T32, M103, and 110E5. The commander is the radio operator, so if you're putting your crew in the 103 or the T32, then you're going to have issues with the radio operator, and your commander is going to have those radio operator skills if your crew is trained for the 110E5, and you're trying to train it up in the T77 as a crew trainer and then throwing it around to other tanks. You're just going to have to work with that. The T57 Heavy and the 54E1 is the exact same setup, with the commander being the radio operator. So as a trainer for those 2, it works out pretty nicely. And that's pretty much it for the Americans. I don't know, if you might be training a crew for the T29 or T32, but realize you're adding the radio operator in there. So those are the only things for considerations on the tech tree. Let's move on to the 3D model. Yeah, heavy tank, not a lot of armor. This is very interesting to me. We'll take a look in the comparison what that means as a heavy tank amongst its peers at tier 8. But you can tell right here that it just doesn't have much, especially the turret. You're talking lots of area where there's about 170, 160. It gets a little bouncy on the edges like all tanks do, really, especially the rounded turrets. You shoot near the edge, then you're going to do that. This is an interesting little area right here where it has quite good armor and has -8 gun depression. When it's coming over a ridge, and -8 sometimes doesn't let you get this angled, but you can see that the upper plate gets bouncy at that angle, but of course it's got that big lower plate. Realize that lower plate is rounded a little bit, so if you are angling at it, say something like this, you can get some goofy bounces if your shell happens to go right of where you're shooting. Say you're trying to aim right here, you'll get that angled bounce thing going on, but all that green just really isn't good for a heavy tank. I mean, it just, it's not great, man. It's not great. Let's move on to a comparison amongst its peers. So I've got a selection of tanks. You can see I've got the T77. All these tanks are 100% crews with no equipment, food, and no skills on their crew members. 2 tanks that are considered very good premium tanks, the Renegade and the Defender. A newer one, the Renegade, a older one, the Defender. So a couple autoloaders from the tech tree, because it is an autoloader for comparison. An autoloader considered a decent one, that's a premium. The standby Lurva and the standby 50 TPPR. A lot of these are premiums, and you'll be making a decision at some day whether you want to buy this. So I throw those in, and we'll compare it to other autoloaders as well to see how it stacks up. It does have a high relatively alpha. It's not the 440 of the Defender, but it's sitting at 360. That seems to be a trend with a lot of the tanks these days. Power creep, we're getting more and more alpha out of tanks. The standard pin is quite good at 232. Not bad. In fact, it's just 2 off of the Lurva, which is known as a really good standard pen tank. Now that is a good thing for a premium if you're planning on trying to make a little bit of cash and not shooting gold. So that's one good thing in its favor. Rate of fire is relatively slow, but it is an autoloader. 38-second reload. All right, the 5100 is 48. That's a long time. 35 for the Suma, so it's a little bit more than the Suma, but you're only getting 3 shells out of this, guys, with 2 seconds in between each shell. Oof. The upshot of all that, we're just going to jump down here right now, is that its DPM is atrocious at 1,530. So it's got a really nice burst potential with 360 alpha guns, over 1,000 for 3 shots that hit in pen, oh, by the way. But overall, because of its 35-second reload, it gets a really bad, really bad average DPM. Look at the 50-100 with its really bad 48-second reload, but still manages to eke out 1,700. The Emil at 1,900. The Suma at 2,000 with a comparable reload just gets kicked in the jimmy right here for the average DPM. We'll get to it later in the replay, but this is a tank you need to plan for when you play it. All right, that can make it a little bit exhausting. We'll get to that later on. -8 on the depression, 15 on the elevation is not great. It's okay. -8 is usable. 2.59 is pretty long on the aim time, but I was a little bit surprised at how long the aim time is on a lot of the tier 8 premiums. It's all pretty bad, so it's not atrocious. 0.35 on the dispersion. Again, it looks bad, but it really is in line with the rest of these things. I found the gun to be relatively accurate. Its soft stats didn't seem to be too painful. 1450 on the hit points. Here's the armor. You know, what can you say? It's bad. It really is. It's 125 in the hole, which kind of looks good, but the angling isn't fantastic. You saw the tanks.gg. Most anything's not going to have much trouble getting through it. The turret is painful. I mean, the Suma's at 120. It's not Defender clearly at 250. 90 on the 5100, which is known for no armor. Frankly, 152 is not that much better in practice than the 5100. I mean, okay, tier 6s aren't going to punch through you like the 5100 has to deal with, but 7s and 8s, and especially anything hitting 2 at any tier it sees, is probably going to go right through its turret for the most part. Very situational. It's unfortunate. Here's an interesting thing about this tank. 49 kilometers an hour in a straight line, which is not bad. Not bad. I'm sorry, it's down here. 48 kilometers an hour in a straight line, which is not bad. 12 reverse. Oh, oh, oh. All right, think about this, folks. You're in an autoloader. You're going to want to creep forward, shoot, and then you need to back out of the fight. You need to get back, get away, get reloaded. You have a 35, 38 second, depending on which equipment you put on it, reload. You got to get out of there. This thing does not get out of there. That is what you would call an Achilles heel. It is an absolute soul-crushing slowness of reverse, and it's very, very interesting that Wargaming did that. Look at the 50-100 is backing out at 20 autoloader. The Emil at 16 autoloader. The Suma at 20 autoloader. Even the PR is faster. The Defender is faster. Oh my gosh, it's I cannot say enough about how painful reversing at 12 is. Avoiding arty, where you're trying to rock back and forth and move around in a position, forget it. If you're arty, take that dude out because he cannot get away. All right, camo is heavy tank camo. There's not much you can do. The view range is one of the worst. That's a bummer. That is a bummer. I mean, the Emil's worse at 360, but it's down at 370. The Defender's at 350. I didn't notice that. There's some at 400. You don't often see that big of a spread, but these tanks are really kind of all over the place. Everywhere from 350 to 400, which surprised me just a little bit. All right, so what can we say overall about this thing? Decently punchy alpha, atrocious DPM, pretty good burst, mediocre to bad armor, and the reverse speed makes me want to poke my eyes out with a pencil. I mean, it really does. It's bad. It is bad. All right, let's move on. Well, how did I do? I played 10 games for you, for science. Got a 50% win rate. This is probably a 55% tank for me, I would say, based on how it plays. 968 average on the experience. We come over here. Hit rate was a little lower than I would like it to be. A tank like this needs to hit. You can't afford with a 1500 DPM. With a 1500 DPM and a 35-second reload, you simply cannot afford to miss. You have to at least give your shell the opportunity to pin, because every miss hurts, every not pin hurts as well. Damage ratio decent at 1.66, destruction at 2, which is good. Look at that armor use. It's a heavy, folks. It's a heavy. This is a tiny, tiny sample size, all right? But that's about how good the armor is, okay? It just isn't. 968 we talked about. I averaged 2,082, which is actually pretty good for my tier 8s. But there's an outlier in there which is cranking it up. I had a 5,000 damage game. We'll show you that. So I don't think I would average if I did 100 battles, and I will eventually in this thing. I'm probably not going to average 2,082. It'll be more like 18, 17, which is where most of my other tier 8 premiums are. Heavies, tier 8 premium heavies. Even really just standard heavies at tier 8. Assistance at 647, which is actually pretty decent. That's a bit of an outlier too. I don't think it'll be quite that high. Like I said, I managed a 5,000 damage game and I killed 4 in one battle there. So that's my stats. Let's take a quick look at my setup. All of my reviews since the equipment thing has the same caveat until I really start to figure it out. I have very little idea what we want to do with the equipment and where it's going to pan out. All right, so here's what I did. The good news about this is that equipment is no longer kind of analog of 1, 2, or 3 different things, and that's it. There are some things you can do to mitigate weaknesses with the equipment. What I did is I put vents, a rotation device to help it a little bit on the move and with shots, and a vertical stabilizer. Based on the fact that I wanted this thing to hit. That got me down to 0.34 dispersion. You can add food if you wanted to click on the right thing, of course, and you've got yourself down to 0.32. That is a considerable bonus for just throwing food on, folks. 0.32 from 0.35 is, 0.34 to 0.32 is pretty darn good. So you might consider that. In fact, does it increase? It might even increase the DPM slightly. Yes, so it increases the DPM, decreases the aiming time, the reload. I mean, really, food might be a really good idea on this. Make sure you have firefighting or something, or just accept burning to the ground, however you want to roll with it. You could put a directive in there as well. Let's just mount this and see where we can get. Don't usually go to this detail on this, but if we have food and we throw the vents guy on there, we are down. Doesn't really help with the dispersion, but everything else gets another little boost, so it can get down pretty low, down to about 34 seconds, some change on your reload for the clip. All right, so unfortunately, remember how I talked about the rounds had really good standard pen? Well, it's a tank that kind of begs you to add all the extra premium stuff on it, and that's going to kill your profit just a little. So you either accept that the profit's going to be a little gimped, or sorry, the performance is going to be a little gimped, so you can get profit, or you can really stack stuff up on it and wring a lot more performance out of it. That's standard for every tank, but this is one of those tanks that you might want to consider if you're really try-harding in this thing to just really set it up to the max extent possible, because the more seconds you can cut off that long reload, the more effective this thing will be. And like I showed you, get up to 1,600 something DPM, which is 100 or so better than what it was. All right, let's take a look at 3 games. I had large kits and everything else. I was carrying 3 clips of heat, which has 299 pin. We haven't mentioned that yet. 24, and then just 1 clip. It is a 120. The gun is a 120, so the HE does a decent job with 460 average damage on it. Let's take a look at 3 examples of gameplay. All right, admittedly, all of my replays are going to be top tier or same tier. I did have a couple. I only played 10 battles, so you got that kind of early protected area where you don't see a whole lot of top or bottom tier stuff. I had a couple tier 10 battles. You can see I averaged 2,000 damage, so I did okay in them. But the reason I want to show you the ones I'm going to show you is to kind of highlight the painfulness of the planning for this tank, planning on where you want to go, and whether or not you put yourself into a position where you can get reloads or the enemy allows you to do such. All right. For example, on this map, Serene Coast spawned into the north. Normally, I would push up and start punching guys in the face, especially with a 8-degree depression and an autoloader. You might go, wow, you got a heavy autoloader, decent turret, get up there and start wrecking guys. And I'm thinking, if I go up there with just me and this T-54 Mod 1, and those guys swarm me, I'm going to get 3 shots off, and it's going to be lights out, game over. So once I start to get friends, here they go, we can start thinking about getting up there. So that being said, planning on this tank, raging forward and getting into the front and trying to blap your 3 shots out without any support around is a bad idea. It's a bad idea anyway. It's an especially super fantabulous bad idea for this tank. So you really want to think about, where am I going to get that clip shot? Where am I going to go to protect myself for 35 seconds, over half a minute? And how many friends do I have around to help me do that? Do I have the terrain? Do I have the friends? So those three get up there, they get engaged, and now it's time for me to get in there and start adding that thump, 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 360 alpha onto those guys. The TS5 showing up kind of put a damper on my spirits. I figured I was going to have a really easy time with these guys, but once they start putting a few hit points on, there we go, the STG dies, and I come around here. Now there's no artillery, that's going to be helpful. I am a little bit worried about TDs down below, but we're just going to come out here and put a little surprise hello, how's your father on this guy. One into him, and then that T77 sees me, and I'm wondering, well, you know, I wonder what his situation is vis-a-vis reload. Well, he at least had one shot, that's a bummer. He got one, he's taking hits, trying to get at me, and either ran out of shots or realized he was going to get killed trying to coming up and over, and it didn't matter. We killed him. He ran into the thing I was trying to avoid, right? He took his 3 shots. He was on the back edge, and he had 3 guys on top of him pummeling him, to include me getting a sneaky 360 on the side. How long is this reload? I don't know, but it's long, okay? Here we go, TS5, and now we're going to come in here and try to sneak some shots on this guy. Take kind of a bad shot on him. Oh, never mind. It was a great shot. What a great, excellent shot I just took. That was a bad shot. Now I'm going to try to sneak one into the top, and we put one more into his hatch. Careful where I went. Pushed forward to help my guys when I had the cover of numbers and some terrain. Got a clip, got out, reloaded, got back in, got some shots off, 1,798. Obviously no artillery, that's a big deal as well. I probably would have had to pull back and try to go dark, get a little further away if artillery was going. And now I'm going to head back towards Cap because I'm worried that they're going to punch through over there. We're going to speed this thing up because it takes me a while to drive. Good number of my teammates go, excuse me, good number of my teammates go towards their Cap, so this is really just a bit of a romple stomp, although they kind of even it up just right at the end right there. They're in a pretty bad position. Now I have my 3 shots. We're going to come up over here and try to use the autoloader. Same thing is going on here as before. I've picked a position that I can take some shots and I can back out, and hopefully I have a little bit of cover with a prototype right here, and it looks like where's the 122? Is he around? Yeah, he's on the other side over there. A little bit of numbers, one guy, but that should be enough based on what's going on, and I can come up here and get my shots and then get to cover if need be. See, a pretty comfortable gun. I'm really impressed with the gun as far as its soft stats do not seem to bother it too much. Rotation device helps because it cuts down all of the dispersion loss on movement of turret and hull and all that good stuff after firing, etc. You know, I don't know if it does after firing. Let's just pretend it does. Let's just pretend I know what I'm talking about. But it does help with the dispersion on movement and things. We're just going to drive in, and I know that this is over. Really, I'm just going to keep going at this guy, and if I can even just get, you know, 5-10 points of ram damage on him, I'll be happy. Pretty soon I'll be reloaded. I'm not going to worry about if he shoots me, no big deal. So we just auto-aim this guy. I'm not going to worry about him. He doesn't have any hit points. This guy has even less than he had. Thump him. A little ram, and then a little boop. There we go. Doesn't look like I got that shot. I did get that shot. No, I didn't. No, I did not get that shot. Someone else stole it. They stole it. Didn't have to use any gold. We get 2,331, 1 kill, and the win. I think a pretty good example. Now let's look at one where I don't get such luxuries. All right, second example. We're not going to go through the whole thing. You can see we've got a game in progress. I have a bit of a push coming around here. We've got a Leo and an Object 416, and we're trying to stop a T77, an IS-3, and some other things. So we're going to take a look at trying to use this autoloader in a situation like this where there's not really great cover. There's good cover around the corner, but as far as getting away from somebody who wants to push forward into and getting the shots, it's not great. So we come in here. We're going to eat a shot from him, more than likely. We're just going to accept it. We're going to thump. We're going to go in here, we'll put another one in there, and we did some nice work. And look at that slow back up. Ooh, ooh. That guy was in my way, and I thought I might as well try to push into the terrain there to put an angle on. Look at that. And now we wait. Right? Now we wait. 416, I'm thinking, yeah, 416 killed it. Uh-oh. That is not good. The Leo is kind of hanging out. The 416 is hanging out. And they are not pushing in and trying to get rid of this IS-3. I'm out of the fight. I can't help them. You know, they're trying to take this guy down. Guys are hitting him from every direction. I'm going to try to poke on this guy. Look at this. I'm not even lit. Oh my gosh, and I wasted a shot. IS-3 died, but the 416 lost nearly every hit point he had, and their T77 is dealing with the same stuff I'm dealing with. He's trying to figure out how to do this with this really slow reload. There's an IS-3A. He is problematic. That is an autoloader you probably don't want to meet in this thing. You're going to maul him, but because of the autoloader mechanic of that tank, where it can shoot 3 shots at 390 and then reload and just shoot you 9-10 seconds later, where you're 30 seconds, 35 seconds before you can even take another shot, that is not an autoloader you want to try to face punch with right there. I need him to have a few hit points knocked off of him, and I need to be reloaded and not have any of his friends around, and also not have him able to get away. Even if I put a shot or two in it, and he puts a shot or two in me, if he gets away, that's just bad. Because he's going to come at me reloaded much faster than I'm going to be ready. So we see this guy coming in, we're going to try to sneak one under there. There we go. 351, unfortunately. A shot that doesn't do anything, and now I know I'm in trouble. We do get a bounce there. I just shoot. Now, this is the part where I was talking about you just don't get a chance. And I think it probably would have been faster for me to spin around and run away with my rear end. As I was doing this, I thought this is not how you want to get away in your T77. T77, just backing up like this at the speed of, you know, negative 50 miles an hour. This was just atrocious and awful, and I was not in a great spot. And all of a sudden, the IS-3A knows it, right? He takes his peek. He says, "Yep, dude's backing up. He's really slow. He's not going to get away." He repositions. Now he's going to come up on the ramp on a nice position where even with a bad gun depression, he's going to show me just his turret. Now, he's already shooting at me as well. I'm forced to use a shot on him to get rid of him. That's a bummer. And now this dude, I'm going to try to aim in and hit the ground. Oh, and he gets that one shot. He knows I've fired. He takes another one. And I'm like, this is the end, folks. We're going to... Oh, look at that. He tracked me. But even so, there's my 3 shots, right? There's a little artillery action just to add insult to injury. He's reloading. He took his 3 shots. He's sitting there getting his shot back. He's probably reloaded with 1 shell about now, and he's looking to get his 2nd shell. There he is. So he's got his shots. Did he take a peek at me? No, he doesn't. I come up here, I'm thinking, no, okay, that's not going to work. Let me reload. I'm going to be very clever about this. And now I'm going to put that sweet, sweet turret armor to use. Do you think? Let's see if I can do that. Here's that sweet turret. No. 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 Ain't happening. It ain't happening. All right, there's an example of, especially towards the end, isolated, no help, hard to get away from things, long reload. You find yourself in that position. Any autoloader is going to have a tough time. This one's going to have an especially tough time. Now let's take a look at the last example where I dropped the 5000 and was obviously allowed to reload quite a bit. Okay, top tier in a 3-tier battle. This is a great setup. I'm only facing in the mill some Tigers and such. We are here on Erlenberg. I'm in the middle. There are 3 artillery, but they don't actually send anybody over to the side. This allows me to kind of get in this position right here. This is a great position for this tank. I don't actually have any backup near me, but it's very hard for them to just kind of push in. I make a very bad mistake here. I try to get him into the track, and that doesn't work. And I end up with, oh boy, just 2 bad aims. I could have finished that guy, actually, if I'd have done that right. If I'd have just gone for the shots into his armor and not tried to get clever with a track and a damaging shot right there. What I did is I got into his angled side, so it tracked him, but it bounced off the relatively thick armor of the side. I'd say relatively because at that angle was pretty good. The 6x6 comes in on the west side and dies, and I'm worried that that's going to happen. And that's probably the worst guy I could imagine showing up there. That's going to force me to get into the middle, which is not too bad because I'm only facing Tigers and Tiger Ps and Eagle 7, but I didn't want to move further in because what I didn't want to do was get swarmed. But now we've got a Tiger P and our Eagle 7 crossing the bridge because they didn't put anybody on that side, and we're in great shape, and that poor Emil's getting hit by Artie. So at this point now, it's time to come in here and start using this sweet auto. Oh, I bounced on that guy. Did not want to do that. The KV2 lived much longer than he should have, so he's going to get another hit there and die. The Tiger P is looking. So we got the Tiger and Tiger P, and now I'm on that massive long reload, so I've got to hang out. A little bit worried about artillery. The KV2 gets thumped. The Tiger P is side scraping. I don't want to. I'd love to move forward in position on these guys, but that's going to afford the Tiger P as many shots as he wants. And then I get a nice push going on, which is going to give me cover. So I'm going to wait until I'm just about reloaded, and then I'm going to start moving. There we go. So let's get in here and get rid of this Tiger P. We got a big crowd, unfortunately. Gets a little silly in here. I'm just going to bull in here. We need to take out these guys and get rid of them. Get a little bounce, so armor's not terrible. There we go. I was really hoping our Tiger P would go. I'll just come in and take this shot. Whatever. Of course he ammo racks me. Why wouldn't he? Get one onto the top, and we'll back out. So we'll just back. There's some artillery buddies. I fixed that because I do not want to wait any longer than I have to. The kits will regenerate. There's not a lot going on in here right now because all they got to do is track down that Tiger. So let's just use the kit, get rid of the stun so that I don't get delayed on a 35-second reload any more than I have to. Now I need to get rid of this Eagle 7 and this Emil. The T75/2, I was thinking about going up that ramp and trying to deal with them, but that wasn't going to work because I was going to get Artie. So I think my best bet at this point is just to close on them. We'll cross across this open area, slightly dangerous. I hope I don't get seen by the 122-44, the T25. Actually, T25 is up there. Nope, 122-44 is there. The T25 is on the other side, so that's good news. Maybe the Su-152 is back here, or the 100. We're going to come in here and try to get rid of these guys. I'm on pretty good hit points, 2,146 damage, 67 assist. The Emil is here, and he's not looking at me. Notice the camera angle just to make sure that I can see him, what's going on with his turret, because that will inform on whether I was going to go after him. Oh my gosh. Let me down. You'll let me down. It was actually not a bad shot dispersion-wise. It just went to the edge of the circle and missed. Eagle 7 stuck, and now we're stuck on this big long reload, right? Making moves in this tank is a sequential step as opposed to a rush, right? It's hard in this tank to follow up and exploit openings. The old blitzkrieg thing is difficult to do because I got my 3 shots and now I got to hide and wait for the reload. Whereas with the medium or another heavy, I might have continued to press on that Eagle 7 and taken him down. Now, I know I can clip him out. It just took me a while to get there. So he's hanging out here. We'll just shoot him. There's 1. 2. Oh, that didn't damage. That hurts. And just like that, remember how I told you it's really painful when one of your shells does not pen? A little hasty on all those shots. If I'd have been a little bit more careful, I think I would have been able to take that dude down. He's getting hit, and unfortunately our Eagle 7, for whatever reason, has driven out into the open. I only crossed a little open. He got in the open. And we're waiting for the reload again. When the enemy team allows you to do this, it's a good thing. The Eagle 7 didn't have a lot of choice as far as being able to push into me, and then he gets absolutely crushed. His soul gets crushed by Artie. Thump. They're down to 2 Artie. That's good. I need to make a push here, though. We're at 4 minutes and 50 seconds. Our OI and IS2, I believe, KV2, are trying to push in there, and that's really dangerous. They're 2 big heavies with not really great camo. I am reloaded, so I realize I got this guy. I'll just keep pushing on him. And we'll keep moving just to make any shots or Artie at least as difficult as possible. We dodge a bit there. Looks like we got Artie stunned. One of the little guys, probably the M44, took a shot since the 304 doesn't stun. M44 dies. Very nice. The Easy-8's getting hammered on. I can't really, again, push because I'm not ready to shoot. This is going to be a difficult push. What I want to do is go down the edge of this map and dodge off to the left if I need to. But right about at reload, I'm going to push in. The KV2 has managed to survive. We have 3 Artie, and they're all stuffed up there in the corner. We also actually have one other tank. The A44 is keeping their TDs busy. I can see they've got a lot of TDs camping back there. Reloaded just in time. Oh, he's going to get away. Nope, got him. Look at that. Nice little dispersion. I force a reload. I know I have a long drive. The time is coming down to a time crunch. I'll just reload on my way in here. If I have to go and hide behind something over here, I'll do so. I'm a little bit surprised the SU or one of the other TDs hasn't taken a poke at me right here. But they were busy with the A44. Now the A44 is dead, so their attention is going to be shifted elsewhere. like that right there. I just got spotted. I see the dead Hulk. I'm just going to try to hide behind him. There we go. I get hit by the 144, but I don't get penned, which is nice. The Sioux drops a little HE love my way, but dies. I take another bounce from the Sioux 122.44. I don't have a kit, so I've got to wait. And Muppetry in action. I don't know if you noticed, I tried to repair my tracks. I didn't have a kit, but the last thing on my repair for tracks is 4-3, the kit, then 3 for the tracks. Guess what 3 is? It's HE. That's the next clip I'm going to get. Pretty standard mistake that I make. But there's only 2 of them left. We'll hit him once, he dies. And we'll just take that guy out with a knife. No, we'll just miss him first. But he's charging forward. He's going to give us one more opportunity, I believe. There we go. Here he comes. And we'll just peek. And it's all over but the shouting. 5,000, 45 damage, 1,089 assist, 4 kills, and a win on Erlenberg. Top tier. I got it. This was more so to kind of see you, to let you see the sequential steps of getting to a spot, getting shots, having friends around, getting back, getting reloaded, and then how you would move around the map with an autoloader and 35-second reload. Because I will tell you, well, we'll get to that in the finale. Hold on, we'll get to that in the finale. Well, all right, guys, thanks for coming by. What's my verdict on the tank? I think this is kind of an interesting one. I'm going to call it balanced. I am. I think there's probably going to be a lot of people say it's kind of bad. I have a different view on this to some extent. I like the whole game. Different tanks are cool. It really is up to you whether it's worth it. The problem right now is the only way you can get it in the game is out of the boxes. Is it, air quotes, worth it to buy the boxes? That is entirely up to you. But if you buy 10 boxes, 20 boxes, 100 boxes, there's no guarantee you're going to get a T77 out of it. I would say the best way to do that is play the Waffentrager events in the weekends. Let me rephrase that. Not the best way in that for sure you're going to get footlockers, but the best way of, I don't want to really spend any money, but I want to try to get it. Play the Golden Waffentrager event. See if you can kill one of the CCs in the Waffentrager. You'll get some special boxes dropped, and there you go. You have as much chance as the guy who bought it as far as each box goes. So when you buy the box, don't expect to win the T77. That would be a bonus. That being said, I can't imagine it wouldn't be sold in the near future. They all have in the past. That doesn't mean this one will be. I don't have any specific information, but there you go. You can probably buy it. As to the tank, I would say it's balanced. It's interesting to me because as an autoloader, it has in spades the weaknesses of an autoloader. This thing is very, very, very vulnerable when it's on a reload. It just doesn't have a lot of speed to get out of the way or run away like maybe a 5100 would. It doesn't have the armor in the face like the Suma does, so it can kind of take a punch or two if it needs to. It almost has effectively against tier 8 or above not much armor to no armor on it. So its weaknesses are very magnified. The nice thing about the autoloader on it with 360 Alpha is it does drop a lot of damage down range, and unlike the Suma or the 5100, where to get that burst potential you have to hit with a lot of shells, this one only requires 3 shells at 360 Alpha, which is nice. You know, sometimes you jump out with the 5100 or the Suma, you miss 3 or 4, and you're really hurting because you've done almost nothing. At least with this thing, if you get 2 out of 3, you're dropping over 700 Alpha on somebody in 2 seconds, which is decent. Just realize getting away from things is going to be very, very difficult. The 1500 DPM is not great. It probably requires quite a bit of try-hard equipment if you want to maximize its capability, but it's got a good pen, standard pen. So really you could probably end up making some pretty good money if you're okay dealing with a slightly longer reload and a little bit worse gun handling. That's my review on the T77 American Premium Tier 8 Auto Loading Tank. Hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did get it, let me know what you think down below of the tank. I don't think it's the next coming of the Defender or the Renegade or anything like that, but it's a solid, balanced Tier 8 Premium. That's all I've got. Thanks for tuning in, and we will see ya.